From ranches in Australia to leading one of the most tech-driven teams in animal health, Tim Peart has seen it all. In this episode, the Senior Vice President at MWI shares how boots-on-the-ground grit meets big-picture vision to create value, drive innovation, and lead with purpose. That and more right here on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Microtechnologies. Microtechnologies has a deep history of conquering challenges to create a safe, wholesome food supply efficiently and profitably. As a brand of MWI Animal Health, Microtechnologies continues the legacy of innovating with you to empower your business. Well, Tim, welcome to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast.
Well, we're glad you're here. Welcome to Amarillo. We're really excited to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and we're sitting today here at MWI's headquarters and office, right here in Amarillo. And as some people might guess, based on the sound of your voice, this is not home for you, is it?
No, it's a long way from home. It's very much like my home, though, hot, dry, and desolate. So it reminds me of where I grew up.
So where did you grow up?
Grew up in Australia. So grew up on a sheep and cattle ranch, or they call it a station. My whole life, I've been involved in agriculture from the time I was a kid until I came, well, even still today. So I spent about the first 23 years of my life in Australia, and then ventured to the US for 12 months.
Okay, so ventured to the US for 12 months. And what did that look like? Why did you want to leave Australia?
I had an opportunity to do a exchange program and work on a ranch in the US. So a friend of mine and I took advantage of it. We were working on big cattle stations in the northern part of Australia. And so we went through a program and we came over here. He ended up in Nebraska and I ended up in South Dakota on a ranch in northwest corner, Buffalo, South Dakota, right up in the middle of nowhere.
So here you are in South Dakota.
Yep.
This young man from Australia, and you never left.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a 12-month visit. That's what I told my mother. She was never happy with me afterwards. I think life isn't about what you know, it's about who you know. And I ended up knowing a person who was doing some technology on some feed yards. And so I had an opportunity to do a trip with him to Texas. He ended up offering me a job. And so my 12-month got extended to 2 years, extended to 3 years. And then I did the very quintessential married the neighbor's daughter of the ranch that I came on. Yep.
So you had a long-term plan. You married right and got your foot in the door to stay here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But what you mentioned there, Tim, too, is that technology, that there was an attraction that you had to technology at that time in the beef industry. So what did that look like then?
Yeah, it was a solution for sorting cattle. And so we would capture the hip height of an animal, the width of an animal, and make a sort decision as to how they should be finished and group them together into like-type groups of cattle so that we had uniformity when we slaughtered animals. It was in its infancy. Got to travel around the country for some amazing locations, some big feed yards, and meet some great people.
Wow. So what was it about getting into these cattle ranches in the US and starting to play around with some technology that was new at that time? What was it about that whole experience that intrigued you?
I've loved technology my entire life, even as a little kid, when my first computer was a Commodore 64. So you probably don't even know what that is.
I don't, but
Yeah,
was it the size of this room?
Not quite, but it didn't do much. But it interests me on how can we use technology to make something better, right? How can we use it to make efficiency? And in that case, at the feed yard piece, it was all about how do we create efficiency in the feed yard? How do we create full pen capacity? How do we create more value for the producer?
And so the cattle industry, the beef industry was what got you excited originally, but you also soon after that got into the dairy space. So talk a little bit about the introduction from cattle into dairy.
Yeah. Well, let me give the quick story. So the company I was working for got bought by Micro. And so that's how I got involved in the broader technology aspect of microtechnologies, which for me was like heaven sent. You know, it combined two of my greatest passions, cows and technology. Well, after we moved to Texas and joined Micro, we thought, man, they're just cows. We can get into dairy side really easily. This will be a piece of cake. It's not easy. It was different, right? Cattle feeders and dairy back then were different mindsets. They had different philosophies. We were humbled very, very quickly. And so we spent a lot of time on how do we bring more value outside of what we do on the beef side. And so we had an opportunity as a business. We had a group of people that were amazing at what we did who reached out to a couple of different companies, and we brought the SCR animal monitoring collar to the United States. We were the first entity to bring it in scale to any large dairies. It certainly came with its challenges, but it was, at the time, it was revolutionary because we really, truly now understood what an animal was telling us. Rather than being subjective, we were very objective of what was happening.
And did allow for an individual animal data collection.
Yes.
As well.
And we'd been doing that on the beef side for a while, not to the same level in terms of activity, but this truly was true individual animal management.
So you were involved in this boots on the ground effort to bring a technology that essentially has transformed
very much
dairy farm management.
Yes.
And you were there for the early stages.
Yes.
And I recall as a young journalist in my own career being at one of the first press conferences at World Dairy Expo. They took us to a farm just outside of Madison and started to try to explain to a group of journalists and newspaper and magazine folks what they were doing to capture this rumination and activity and tie it all together. And I just remember at that time thinking, wow, this is something, this is different than the typical data collection that most dairies had, milk weights, maybe some DHIA reporting and a lot of observation. But the ability to monitor rumination was such a new concept. And so when you look at that stage of infancy, that you weren't just part of it like a fly on a wall, you were boots on the ground. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you saw that were occurring as you were bringing forth a completely new technology into the U.S. dairy industry?
We had a lot of challenges, Peggy. There were lots of them. Lots of failures, lots of battery problems, a lot of processor problems. Because the company was based in Israel, you now have this language barrier, you have a time barrier. So from a support perspective, there was just, lots of late nights at 2 o'clock in the morning having phone calls on why is it not working? And then the other problem was scale. We were trying to do this in dairies of 3,000 cows, where historically it had been 100 and 200 and 300 cows. And so we saw the benefit at the bigger dairies, the very much the large ones that could, one, afford the technology, because all new technology is not cheap to start with. It costs money, and they could spread it out over the entire operation. And then with the feed management solution that we had at the time in a couple of those dairies, we were thinking, well, if we can understand monitoring, activity, rumination, we can actually make adjustments to feeding programs to better suit the output of the animal.
What was it about that whole picture that made you dedicated to bringing it forward in a way that could be expanded and scaled and really bring value to the dairy producer?
I think the first part is you have to understand the mindset of the company back then. So Micro back then was an innovation company. We lived on bringing new ideas. Our entire philosophy was being market makers. We want to be first to market with all the new innovation. And how do we bring something that's revolutionary, not just disruptive, but extremely disruptive to the industry that changes practices and procedures? And so if we took what we knew and were passionate about on the feed yard space and moved it to the dairy space, feeding cattle was one thing our technology was really good at, but how do we better understand what the animal needed and wanted? And so knowing that, we just knew deep in our hearts that as we progressed in our industry, we have to know more about the dairy cow. And so the only way to truly get it is to bring a solution that allowed us to understand that data. Right? And then use the data to make decisions into the future.
So do you recall some of the first dairymen that you approached
with
this idea?
Yep.
Any stories that really stand out?
Oh, there's a lot of 2 a.m. morning phone calls and being at the dairies. Yeah, I mean, the first big dairy we had is just outside of Amarillo. Um, Lots of phone calls of, if you can't fix this, bleep, 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 you can come pick it up tomorrow. I'm not doing it anymore. So there was a lot of, we're on our way. We'll come help you. We're there, because we also had it tied to milking equipment. And so when something broke, the parlor was down at a couple of times. So we were all hands on deck. And so, yeah, there were multiple times, Peggy, where we were about to get kicked out. But again, our philosophy was we truly believed enough in the technology that we had to make it work, which meant whatever we had to do.
I mean, you had to keep the producer on board when they were ready to rip it out. You also had to keep a team motivated to stay the course.
Yep.
And that had to be really challenging too.
It wasn't just me, but a lot of it's lead by example, right? So when we had 2 a.m. phone calls and we were at the dairy installing or fixing equipment, I went with them. I think they trusted me. And then when there was a problem, I was in the field with them. Like I came home many nights covered in manure, right? And I think that's how you build trust with the people, to keep them passionate about what they're doing and why they do it.
From a leadership standpoint, you worked right alongside people that during the toughest times, the latest hours, the dirtiest jobs. Is that part of your philosophy as a leader today?
My first job was installing equipment at Micro within the company. So yes, I absolutely, when we get new leaders, my first coaching to them, get in the field, go out, experience what the team does. You can't help them get better without knowing what they do and without experiencing what they do and what they go through.
So being alongside the dairies and the team to be able to figure out the kinks, to problem solve and get a new technology to a place where it was able to be accepted by producers and not just by early adopters, but what I would say with a lot of the producers that I visit with on our podcast is that this is the new normal. It's really become a common household solution.
Absolutely.
And so what did it take to get it there?
A lot of partnerships. We created some really strong alliances with AI semen companies and others, so that we had boots on the ground through somebody else. And then we market that technology with them, in conjunction with them, where they were the salespeople. We came behind and did the technical installation and the service and support afterwards.
And do you believe that's what's made it, as we just said, kind of a household name today?
I think a lot of it was, at the time, they really need investment into the business as well. And so it really isn't making money tomorrow. It's investing in the future of our industry so that we have a sustainable industry in 5 years and 10 years.
And so when you talk about that bigger picture of a sustainable industry and technology, we've been talking about the monitoring technology, rumination technology, but that's really only one piece of the puzzle. There are multiple pieces that you touch on every single day. And so what are some of those other technologies that you see integrating to really set dairy producers up for the next generation, for long-term future, long-term sustainability?
I think if you look at a dairy cow, and I'm not a dairyman, but I really do am passionate about the industry. It really is quite interesting and really advanced compared to what most people think. So if you think about a dairy cow, you have health and feed. You made that comment, the two. Health is absolutely really important because I need her not to be sick. But at the same point in time, feed makes milk. And so when you have a high quality TMR and ration that's going to a dairy cow, output goes up. And so with all of our knowledge on a feed yard space, we transitioned onto the dairy on helping them create an optimum feed ration with TMR. And it's using the solution bit like a micro machine, which is an electromechanical piece of equipment where we're taking very small amounts of product at low inclusion levels, mixing them correctly in the ration, and then delivering it to the right animal at the right time at the right amount. And so making sure that cow, every bite she gets is optimized is really one of the tenets of what we do today in a lot of our large commercial dairies.
And so I just had the opportunity yesterday at High Plains Dairy to see Micro Machine in action.
Great dairy.
Yes, great dairy, and now there's this visual that I have in my mind for how this system works and integrates to really be able to take some of those finite ingredients and put them into a mix that allows, as you said, right amount, right time, right pen. To be able to deliver what those animals need, and again, you talked about the importance of feed, but feed's the largest expense on any dairy.
Absolutely.
And so whatever we can do to dial in those feed costs, do you see that as part of an advantage of the precision feeding
Without a
that you work
doubt.
with as well?
Yeah. So when you think about that, to your point, feed and feeding is one of the largest expenses in a dairy. How do we make sure we're not wasting product? How do we make sure that the feed that we're making is exactly what the nutritionist calls for? And how do we make sure that we're delivering it to the right pen at exactly the right time? And so with our feed management solution, we take all of those micro ingredients, we optimize that ration, we're making sure that the percentages of all the ingredients are exactly what the nutritionist called for. We're putting them into the feed truck, we're routing the truck so that we get the most efficient delivery of that truck from a fuel expense as well as time and labor. And then we're measuring exactly how many pounds that truck driver delivered to the pen and recording that so we know how much is at every pen into every cow.
Tim, you talk about these benefits of precision feeding, but there are some bigger picture things that really you are thinking about and your team is thinking about here when we get into topics like methane reduction and how that comes back to feeding.
I think we as an industry get demonized a little bit, that we're the cause of all of the problems, and we're definitely not. We're one of the few areas within all of the greenhouse gas emission entities that can truly make a difference. So yes, methane reducing products. We have multiple companies we work with that allow our dairymen to feed the product, truly make a difference, and reduce methane production. So to your point, from a precision farming perspective, these products are relatively expensive. And for them to have the right efficacy and work correctly, they have to be fed almost perfectly. If we overfeed them, we're losing money. We don't get the benefit of feed more, get more. It doesn't work that way. But if we underfeed them, we don't get the methane reduction that we truly believe we can get. And so a micro machine absolutely helps that, because we know exactly how many cows are in every pen, exactly how many pounds they're eating every day. We understand that every cow has to get X number of grams of a methane reducing product. So we have the ability to very accurately dispense that into the TMR and then very accurately dispense it to the pen. It's not just about making sure we do it accurately, it's validating that it actually happened. Because it's one thing to feed the product and then get the methane reduction, where the other component of it is truly a revenue stream for our dairymen as well, right? There are carbon credits that they're creating. So to validate the carbon credit, we have to be able to guarantee our dairymen fed those products every day at the right amount. And so with the micro machine, batch to batch records, daily records, every day we can prove that every one of these cows received the right amount. And therefore, yes, they had the intended result of reducing enteric methane.
So these are much bigger picture conversations. This is going beyond the individual cow and animal health. This is really talking about global impact of the work that you're doing here. And let's for a moment tie together some of these different aspects and entities that are part of MWI. So we've talked about micro as a brand for the micro machines. We've talked about the rumination monitoring that came here as SCR, now Sense Hub Dairy. And then there's also the animal health side through pharmaceutical. This is a lot of moving pieces and parts. It's a lot of product, it's a lot of service, it's a lot of people. But you, as a visionary, a forward thinker, a leader, you're constantly looking outside of this siloed industry to say, what are other companies doing?
Yep.
To be able to serve their customer at the highest level. So, what does that look like for you? What do you see as the most important aspects of serving that dairy customer? And where are you looking outside of dairy to figure out how to meet them where they're at and provide their needs?
I think one of the most important tenets of our business, whether it be our technology side or our pharmaceutical distribution business, is customer experience. I say this humbly, but we need to be the best that there ever is for that customer and that experience so that they don't have a desire to go anywhere else. Now, a lot of our customers use our technology or buy our products. Why do they buy it? It's not what they buy that's important. It's why they buy it from us than anybody else. That's really important. And how do we make sure that every time we touch a customer, whether it be in person, on a phone, through a package that we deliver with our logistics partner, that experience is as close to perfect as we can make it. And if we can't make it perfect, we have to strive for perfection.
Mm. So, when you talk about these customer experiences and your customer in our conversation today, we're focusing on the dairy producer, and I'm just having a moment of reflection to how customer service and customer experience has shifted over the years. So, funny story. I remember being a kid growing up on a 50 cow dairy farm, and we had a route truck
Yep.
that would come to the farm. In fact, Renee Jacobs, a
Former
former
employee. Yep.
MWI employee,
Love Renee.
when she showed up at the farm and I was just a little girl, she was the coolest person in the world,
I
right?
know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Renee used to come to our family farm. I had
Okay.
to ask her sometime
Yeah.
about the barn cat that crawled in her route truck.
Okay.
But that's what that customer experience. Oh my goodness. When she showed up with that route truck and we got to go on there and see every little product that, that she had to offer, that's what it looked like then. But the expectations for a customer experience today for a dairy producer are not set forth necessarily by dairy. They're set forth by the experience they're having in any other consumer business that they touch. What are the little things and those special touches that you believe make a difference?
It's a relationship business still, especially in rural America. Our customers and most of the people that live in our trade area want to have a relationship with who they're buying. People buy from people they like.
So, on that note, when you look at the dairy producers you serve today, what do you believe their expectations are and how have they changed?
I think today, with what we do, especially with our veterinarians, because a lot of our products go through the veterinarian to the dairy producer. And so we work very closely with that veterinarian on exactly what that producer will need. And we have the ability to understand in partnership with our vet what they need tomorrow and potentially all they need for the week. And so we build that package of here are the products you need for the week. We deliver it Monday and we do the same thing the next Monday. And so we make sure that they have every solution that they have to have without having to leave the dairy. It's about just-in-time inventory exactly for what the cow needs. So if we can understand animal monitoring and what that dairy cow is telling us, if we can understand exactly what her output is, if we can know exactly what her feed is, we can use artificial intelligence into the future to be predictive on what that dairy is going to need for the next 7 days. Our goal from an inventory perspective is the dairyman never has to worry about it. It just turns up and they have enough faith in us, our partners, and all of the technology solutions coming together that when they get a package, they know they're going to need it and they're ready for it.
So you see artificial intelligence as a piece of being able to deliver on that goal.
I think
and
it's
that
a
promise.
huge piece of what we do into the future.
Are you using it right now?
We're just starting our very first pilot project on using it for writing technology and writing code to write software. We believe it will make us 2, 3, 4 times more productive within 12 months, which then allows us to create more solutions. And then, yes, the very next project for us is to drop it on top of our database and say, how do we use the data to provide our customers with future knowledge?
I want to just take a moment to tie together the activity monitoring, the precision feeding, One thing we haven't talked about today is water treatment, but these things and medicine inventory, but these are all the things that in a dairy's time of emergency and animal health crises, they matter more than ever. And when we look back at the last year, one of the biggest challenges that has faced dairy farmers and dairy producers across the country has been H5N1
Hmm.
bird flu. And so what how did you see all of these pieces coming together to be able to be that provider of not just product and service but also knowledge during a time, especially in those early months?
We have amazing relationship with state veterinarians and dairy veterinarians that are helping the producers, right? So we certainly didn't do it alone. It was this collaboration effort that made the difference. And so we had customers that were doing water treatment, and it's anecdotal, but what I can tell you is having clean water makes a massive difference, right? Dairy cows will drink more, and even in a human, when you're drinking, you feel better. Drinking water, that is. So we had that piece. We were working with state veterinarians on what products should the dairies have and what products should we have in our warehouse. It really does come down to collaboration within the industry as well, right? You have to be willing to step outside what your core area of expertise is and work with others who have that knowledge to benefit the dairymen themselves. Our goal at the end of the day is how do we bring value to our customer? And we can't do it all.
So, okay, so bringing value to the customer.
Yeah.
There's products, there's services, there's things that you are doing to be right there alongside the dairy producer. There's also a bigger picture of what that looks like. And that is what I would call corporate responsibility, social responsibility. How have those pillars become part of the beliefs, the culture, and the action here at MWI?
I think there's a couple of really simple examples I'll give you, right? Massive distribution entity. We have a lot of logistics. We ship a lot of packages around the country, hundreds of thousands of boxes weekly. That's a lot of cardboard, right? So historically, a producer could have ordered 5 times a day, 5 days a week. And so we helped to create this incentive for them to say, let's do order consolidation. Let's reduce single-use cardboard, step one. And so we helped our customers go from ordering, again, 10 times, 12 times a week to twice a week. Step two for us is tote delivery. So we've gone to reusable totes. We're the first in the industry. We're the only ones today that are doing reusable totes. So we're delivering totes to our veterinary customers with all of their products inside them. Very much sustainable materials. We deliver the product or the totes. We pick up the empty totes. We bring them back. We reuse them again. And so we got rid of all the waste.
So Tim, if there's one thing that I picked up from our conversation today, it's this lead by example attitude mindset on your part.
Yep.
So whether it is what we just discussed with being the example from the distribution and delivery standpoint of sustainability, but going back to some of our first conversations we've had today about being boots on the ground, putting collars on cows.
Yep.
I mean, doing the dirty work, the 2 a.m., answering the 2 a.m. phone calls. This has been a style of leadership for you?
Yeah, I think it's got to do with passion, though. It's just not leadership. I think when you're passionate about something and you want to show that, you're willing to do all of it. But without a doubt, yeah, for me, from a leadership perspective, I love to be in the field with my team. It's one of my most favorite things to go do.
How would you define what your true passion really is?
Yeah, I mean, my true passion is cows, whether they be beef cows or dairy cows. I grew up with cows. I like it. I think from a company perspective, and then for me, part of it is having a purpose. And so we as a business may not feed the world, but our customers certainly do. And they're the most efficient at it. Having this purpose of knowing that we truly make a difference in the food chain within not just the United States, but globally, I think is part of what my passion is.
So your drive comes from a local level and a global level.
Yeah, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't think about how much impact our industry has globally as well.
Do you think that that has anything to do with the fact that you have a personal global perspective, having grown up in Australia, having touched businesses and collaborative relationships here in the US, across the globe, as we talked about, SCR originating in Israel. Do you think that gives you that global perspective?
Without a doubt, we have a 5-year roadmap. It absolutely includes expansion internationally with technology and with products and services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, this passion that you have, it's what's opened up the doors to become not just a person that's working on farm every day, but really to be in this leadership role that you're in right now, overseeing the animal production unit here at MWI. What's the best advice that you've ever received as a leader?
My boss at Micro, when I first started, I had the pleasure to work for him for about 20 years. And he had one simple statement: as long as we're talking, we'll figure it out.
Mm.
And I think, especially in today's day and age with text messaging and emails and everything else, we read into tone in text messages and we make all sorts of assumptions. And so, my advice to everybody on my team is when we have an issue, get in a room, get on a phone call, figure it out, but talk about it. And if we're talking, we'll figure it out. If we stop talking, that's when we have problems.
Mm. Okay, so I love this, and I'm a talker, right? I'm a phone call talker, but I can't help but wonder for you now managing multiple generations. How have you navigated this talk it out mentality with generations that have grown up without
Oh,
prioritizing
yeah.
verbal face-to-face communication?
It's really hard. There's no doubt about it. I have no social media other than Snapchat because that's how my kids will communicate with me. So yeah, you have to take that mindset into the conversations and the leading of people, right? I think there's tools that we use every day like Teams and Zoom and others that allow us, and I do have a rule. If I'm going to talk to you on a computer screen, you're going to be on camera. I want to see your face and I want you to see my face and my reaction to how we're communicating. I will communicate with anybody in my team at any point in time. I tell them I have employees that are, whether they be in parts and production in the back or whether they're in the field in Nebraska, they have my cell phone number. And if they text me with something, the majority of the time, I'm calling them.
Mm.
And so I think you just build this culture of it's okay to pick up the phone. You'll fix it and you'll get it worked out faster than ever before. Pick up the phone.
Mm. That's simple.
That's, to me, I know it's not that simple, Peggy, but for me it is. If I want something, if I want to know, if I want to help, I'm picking up the phone. We can have any conversation as long as we're respectful. If we're having a problem, let's figure out what it is, but be hard on the process. Why do we have the problem? What's going wrong? But it's not the person. It could be, but in a public situation, it's not the person. Those are private conversations that you should never have in public. I'm guilty of it, right? It's not easy to do, but be hard on the process, respectful on the person. I had a good friend of mine within Sencora email me yesterday, just how's it going? There's always issues. There's always red tape, corporate responsibility, corporate compliance and governance. And I responded, it depends on the day, right? But then I said, but in the things that really matter, I'm blessed. I have a family, I have great kids, I have a great team of people, I have a passion for what we do. We have a purpose on why we do it. And I truly do believe that we make an impact in people's lives.
Mm.
So it can't get much better.
It can't.
No.
It can't.
No.
Oh, I love this, Tim. I cannot wait. We've got big plans. This is not our last
I
conversation.
look forward to many more.
Yes. But as we wrap up the time that we have here today at the office in Amarillo, the last question that I have for you is I want you to think back to when you first came to the United States.
Yeah.
And you were working on that ranch in South Dakota. If you could give that Tim some advice.
Do something every day that scares you, and you'll be amazed at how much you grow. In the past, I would have been very timid on anything like that. I wouldn't have taken the risk. I would have sat back and waited. I learned it's okay.
Mm.
Yeah, it's okay to take the risk.
What do you think is the biggest risk Or what felt like the biggest risk at the time that you ever took?
My wife will shoot me, but probably asking her to marry me. So, no, seriously, right? I think there's two paths everybody has. There's a personal path and there's a career path. The right personal path helps the career path. It does for me. I married up, there's no doubt about it, but I had the support of her to be able to take the risk to move to Nebraska, to move to Texas, to take the next role, to present an idea to whoever was leading the company at the time on we should do this as a business. It's okay. I need to spend $1 million, and here's why. She was always supportive. And so for me, it was having that right person beside me.
Aw. Well, this has been such a fantastic conversation, Tim. I just appreciate the time to sit down with you. We have learned about this history of dairy technology that you have been hands-on in many ways. And by hands-on, I mean applying collars, fixing things. Some of these perspectives and philosophies that you have as a leader within this organization and getting into not just how you're serving dairy producers, but a bigger picture of corporate responsibility and social responsibility. But I think my favorite part of this conversation, Tim, has been just really understanding you as a leader, where your heart and passion come from, and also being able to see firsthand how it's impacting the people that are within this company, but the dairy producers that you serve.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate it very much. I've watched multiples of your podcasts, and I think they have that same tone, Peggy, that you truly want to bring knowledge to the industry and share that knowledge. And I love the way that you're doing it. So
Aw.
congratulations to you as well.
Oh, well,
We appreciate it.
You just heard from Tim Peart of MWI Animal Health, a leader who proves that purpose, passion, and precision can change the game in dairy. Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. Don't forget to follow, rate, and share wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and until next time, keep on growing, keep on learning, and up-leveling your dairy. This episode is sponsored by Micro Technologies. Micro Technologies has a deep history of conquering challenges to create a safe, wholesome food supply efficiently and profitably. As a brand of MWI Animal Health, Micro Technologies continues the legacy of innovating with you to empower your business.